those are my real thoughts about Huggins, just so everybody knows. Like, no confusion whatsoever. Cool. All right. So here we go. We are moving on. Today, we are still in chapter 6, right? 6.1. So the first little piece we looked at were the building blocks of life, those macromolecules, the polymers. The second main topic that we're looking at is, gosh, we all need a bunch of this to be able to live and function and do all that stuff. Energy and life. Okay, I want to remind you guys, I do not require 100% that you take notes all the time. However, for anybody who's bombed a quiz with me because it was open note and you didn't take good notes, I would encourage at least write some stuff down. Use your judgment to do as much as you need. I'm not going to go like crazy specific, but I really try hard not to write down stuff that we're not going to use or that isn't important. Okay, so as we look at this, there's a little bit of recall stuff here. We have two classifications for which life can fit into. First off, we have our primary producers, or better word for that, autotrophs. Okay, when we look at autotrophs, these are easy. They're the base of entire food webs, food chains, however you want to think about it. Can you give me anything that self, I'm not going to say trophs, anything that makes its own energy? It doesn't have to eat other stuff. Plants. Are there others? Fitty. There are things that aren't plants that also make their own energy without actually eating other stuff. It happens in deep sea vents where you get a bunch of weird bacteria, and extremophiles is what they're called, where they can produce their own energy rather from sunlight, which plants typically do. They can do similar processes using the wonky elements that spit out of these volcanoes underneath the sea, which is pretty awesome. Okay, plants are these. Now, specifically, I wrote plants are autotrophs because why are they called autotrophs? What do they do? I'm going to make this a semicolon. I didn't mean to write plants, but I already did. Produce their own energy. Okay, now, in plants specifically, there is a word that we use for this whole process of producing your own energy from what? What makes energy for plants? You need sunlight for sure, because that big process where we're synthesizing energy from photons is known as photosynthesis. Okay, now, for this, you guys, I imagine when you took biology, you went crazy into photosynthesis. Okay, I'm going to give you the caveman version, and we're going to come up with the caveman version. Okay, sun make light. Boom, there's step one. Awesome, we're done. Light hit plant. Everybody cool with that? Okay, now, light hit plant. Tons of electrons bounce off of the different chemical reactions based on the chlorophyll and chloroplast within those plants, and those electrons transfer across the gradient, and in turn they produce this lovely glucose known as sugar, which is then in turn turned into ATP and so forth and so on. Caveman talk, easy. Okay, are we going to go through electron transport in here, you think? No, probably not, unless anybody's just dying to talk about that sort of stuff. Cool. I like true caveman version. Okay, we're going to make it a little bit better than sun make light, though. Can we just do a picture? Cool. Check it out. Photosynthesis. I'm not going to change colors. This is what? The sun. Now, from this sun, it's going to shine on this lovely thing here. Awesome. We have a plant. Thank you. I worked on that for 3 hours last night. Okay, in this process, there are some pieces of plant cells that we need to make sure that we're cool with. Chlorophyll. Really common, right? Anybody recall what chlorophyll is? What movie do you know chlorophyll from? Oh, you're talking chloroform. It was a real anesthetic. Like, we used it for surgery long before people used it for terrible things. As we look at this, we have chlorophyll. Now, we're not going to go into the mechanics and the actual chemistry of it, but there are chlorophyll exists in here. Okay. Now, I'm not going to zoom in and draw them, but a couple other things happen. Chlorophyll absorbs and does some wonky stuff with this light, and I will make this one yellow coming out of it. Okay. Once chlorophyll has a reaction with this light, there's a bunch of stuff that winds up happening. We produce the important molecule that's used for energy. It happens in us, not through sunlight, but gosh, there's like 3 phosphates on it, and it comes in the mitochondria is probably where you think about it. What's the molecule that actually powers you? ATP. Okay, now ADP also exists in, as you go through photosystems 1 and 2, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, we're not in a chemistry class, we're not in a pure biology class. We're just going to say, hey, ATP happens. Now, with this ATP, what winds up being produced, there's a few different things. We get a lot of CO2 that goes into our reaction. CO2 plus light wind up producing, and this isn't directly from the ATP, but this is all kind of wrapped together. What do they produce? Oxygen in the form of O2, and I'm just going to say sugars. Now, ATP is helpful in the formation of those sugars. We're not going to go into the really specifics with it. Okay, for this, little tiny bit of chemistry. We have a chemical reaction kind of happening here. There's a side that's the product, and there's a side that's reactant. Which is which? Hit it.
Sugars is the product, light, and CO2 is the product.
Fantastic. Reactants, what goes into it, the ingredients, and what do they produce, or the product. Okay, cool. Now, as we go through this, we are going to go a little bit more in depth. Any of this, like, brand new knowledge for you? Everybody's probably heard of photosynthesis. It seems like everybody had. We're going to just take little steps forward. Now, there is a larger piece. It doesn't matter if you're an autotroph or a heterotroph. People do this, plants do this, everything does this. We all love it. I know how to spell. Cellular respiration. Okay, for this, I love concise, short answers with stuff. I'm going to put an excerpt up on the board. I want you guys to take a lot of information, or a reasonably large amount of information, a couple paragraphs at most, and I want you to give me the caveman version of it. Because a lot of the time, the hardest part, like, you can all read. I know that everybody in here can read, but to read it and make sense of it in a way that you can write it shortly so you don't have to memorize whole paragraphs and stuff, that's a huge skill to have, whether you're in this class, any class, doesn't matter. Do you want me to put it on the board? Do you want to grab your books to read about cellular respiration and remind me? Board. Works for me. Okay, we look at it. They make the claim that's essentially the same, or it's essentially the opposite of photosynthesis, right? Okay, photosynthesis is there to produce what? Makes energy. Now, specifically, it makes glucose that is then turned into energy. Now, we're not going to go crazy in depth here with this. I want you guys to do a little tiny bit of digging tonight. I want a bullet list. Small. What I want you to include, and I wouldn't trust AI because AI is not necessarily always good at answering these things. It's a good starting off point. I want you guys to be able to basically give me a rundown of the following. So cellular respiration, there's 3 big parts. 2 big parts that I really care about. There's this whole idea of glycolysis. Okay, this will take some independent digging. Your book does not go very in depth. Awesome. Glycolysis is one little piece. There's a couple little things that happen. You don't have to be real specific with the chemistry. I just want to know what goes in, what comes out. Cool. Beyond that, we also get the Krebs cycle. Okay. You guys that took the time to actually write down like little stuff here, you will see all the things that you've written down guaranteed showing up within these 2 little pieces. Cool. I will likely ask you to provide me some sort of evidence in the form of maybe a short quiz or just whatever you have written down in your stuff about this tomorrow. Cool. All right. Over there. I don't like just general assignments that say, hey, do this. I'm going to ask every person about the booths that you've visited. Tomorrow at the start of class, you're going to have to be able to tell me a variety of things about it. Cool. I'm leaving it pretty open door because it just depends on what you're looking at. You're all going to be able to tell me about the jobs in the booths that you visited today. Cool. We get like 2 minutes. Yes,
Can I stay at the first one?
Yes. Okay. Cool. What do you guys do in math today? Sweet.
It's a test on
Cool. How'd it go?
I think I did good.
There was like one question that was really impressive, but all the other ones were stupid.
Which one?
Okay, we have like 40 seconds and I can hit it. Do you know why this is this?
I what?
Could you explain why this happens?
I can't explain why. I can like show
You want to see why? What's 2 to the 1? 2. Okay, if I wanted to get to 2 squared, do you agree I just multiply by 2? So 2 to the 2 would be 4. 2 to the 3, I just take this and multiply 2 to the squared by 2, right? And it's 8 and so forth. This way, I'm multiplying. What if I go this way? To get from 8 to 4, I divide by 2. To get from 4 to 2, I. So if we just follow that rule, 2 divided by 2 should be, which is 1. And let's keep going. Divide by 2 again. What do you get? Boom. You don't have to remember it. The rule works. Oh, we can go further. All right. I'm going to keep track of all y'all while you're over there. If you leave, I destroy you. Cool. Job fair. 3 booths I want you to visit. I'm going to ask you about one. At least 3. They all probably have free stuff, so go check them all out.